How you gonna win if you ain't right within? You know, when we think about life, a lot of times we approach life or we approach everything kind of like a game, right? Like we try to win, like we're trying to win. We're trying to win at life. We're trying to win, in our relationships. We're trying to win in our careers and our businesses. We're trying to win as parents. We're trying to win. But at the end of the day, like Lauryn Hill said, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? Hope y'all are having a good day. This is a little quick message, man. And also for all those other folks listening, ladies, folks who are looking to kind of get a peep into the mindset of the black man. Yo, thank y'all for listening too. But this is Black Fathers Now. But yo, everybody's welcome. Definitely tune in, listen, learn, and understand things from a different perspective. But I wanted to kind of drop something today. It's going to be a very quick episode. And today's episode, man, like I was riding down the street after dropping the kids off for school, and Lauryn Hill's That Thing from her, album back in, I think, 98, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, the song That Thing came on. And you don't have to listen to the words all the way through to get some really dynamic stuff that you can apply to your life. But there was a small phrase in the middle of that song. How you gonna win if you ain't right within? How you gonna win if you ain't right within? Like that, the rest of the song literally just went to the wayside. And I thought about that. How you gonna win if you ain't right within? When we think about life, a lot of times we approach life or we approach everything kind of like a game, right? Like we try to win, like we're trying to win. We're trying to win at life. We're trying to win, in our relationships. We're trying to win in our careers and our businesses. We're trying to win as parents. We're trying to win. But at the end of the day, like Lauryn Hill said, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? That goes back to our core. That goes back to who we are. That goes back to our internal makeup. As black men, how are we going to win if we ain't right within? Now, you can take that a couple of different ways, right? We can talk about it from the culture, from the community perspective, or we can talk about it individually, And so individually, how are you going to win if you ain't right within is the scenario in which you look at yourself personally. Like, how do you look at yourself? How do you look internally and realize whether or not I'm right or not? And when I say right, I mean, are you operating on, on the right plane? Are you operating with the right mindset? Are you operating with the right spiritual backing? Are you operating, with the right perspective, so to speak? If you're not right within, how are you going to win? I don't know. I don't know anyone who ultimately wins if they're not right within. Now, yes, you will have some folks that win in the short term. You'll have some people who will, have a quick win and have a windfall of something, and they're not right within, but that's not sustained. When we're talking about really winning, we're talking about long term. We're talking about, generational stuff. We're talking about things that go on, and from a principle perspective, you can pass on to your kids, to your grandkids, to your great-grands, things that by you winning last far beyond you, right? That's really winning. It's not necessarily, you win a contract or, something happens and it plays in your favor for right now. Winning is long-term. Winning is something that is sustainable, that you can repeat over and over and over again and winning allows something to live on long beyond you, right? And so that's from an individual perspective. So fellas, black men, brothers, we got to make sure individually that we are right within on all different levels, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, when it comes to our finances, when it comes to our communication, when it comes to our perspectives and how we view things. We got to make sure we're right within. Else, we ain't going to win. Like I said, you might get a small win, but when it comes to long-term, sustainable, generational wins, things that live on beyond you, honestly, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? Individually, right? Now, when it comes to the culture, or when it comes to, looking at us collectively, how are we gonna win if we ain't right within? How are we gonna win if we ain't right within? Now, the thing is, you cannot control another man. You cannot control another person. You cannot control the actions of anybody else, right? We're all free to do whatever the heck we want to do, right? I mean, obviously there are consequences and rewards for what you do, but we are free to do whatever we want to do, no matter what. And but collectively or culturally or as a group or as a community, how are we going to win if we ain't right within? So how do we then become right as a community? How do we then become right as a culture? How do we then become right as a group of black men? How do we then understand ourselves? How do we get right? I mean, that's probably the first question. How do we ultimately get right? How do we get right? And a lot of times getting right is, we first must do a self-evaluation. We must first understand who we are. I'm in the process of reading this book, and by the time this episode drops, we'll have completed it. But it's a book by Naeem Akbar entitled Know Thyself. It is powerful. It is literally, I'm not even done with it yet, and it's already jumped up into my top 5 books that every black man needs to read. Know Thyself by Naeem Akbar. Off the chain. He pulls a lot of references from Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro, but Know Thyself by Naeem Akbar. And at the end of the day, on an individual level, we need to know ourselves, and we have to be right within there. But collectively, we have to know ourselves. We have to know ourselves from a collective perspective, meaning we need to understand our history. We need to understand, the things that were right, the things that were wrong about our history, but we need to actually know our true history so that we can ultimately know ourselves. And by knowing ourselves, then we are free to be right within. But if you don't have the truth, if you don't have the truth about your history, if you don't have the truth about who you are, where you came from collectively as a people, then it's going to be hard to fully get right within because you don't really know what the true right is. And so collectively, for us to be right within, it starts with us knowing ourselves. We need to really take time to deep dive into our culture, into our history. And when I say culture and history, I'm not just talking about culture and history from the perspective of, slavery till now, but deep dive into more than that. Go back. And the thing is, having technology at your disposal and books and, various podcasts and videos and all of that, we have the ability to go deep into our history prior to slavery and prior to the civil rights movement. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the education or a lot of the things that are presented to you are things that basically start around that time period. It was like we magically, it's like you had the magical appearance of the black man, on the first slave ship, and there was no record of us prior to that, right? But in all honesty, we need to understand the history prior to understand the vast diversity of who we are. The vast the successes and the failures, the wins, the losses. One of the things that I'm coming to understand, especially like with the various media cycles of, when somebody, a black celebrity, says something that's kind of off in left field somewhere, and people jump on and become, disheartened and mad or whatever. One of the issues that we face is the fact that we have this mindset of we all we got, or this is all we got, right? Like if we ever get away from the "this is all we got" mindset, then we have the opportunity to grow, because then we don't put all of our baskets into that one "this is all we got" person, right? Or "this is all we got" opportunity. And it kind of frustrates me, because historically speaking, that's how black people tend to move. We find one or two voices, and that's all we got. And so therefore we put all of our eggs in those one or two baskets. And when one of those baskets comes up short, or when one of those baskets, changes their perspective, or if one of those baskets, which is in essence a human, actually acts human, and what do they say, to err is human? You know what I'm saying? When one of those baskets actually steps up and realize, and lives up to the fact that they're human and they're imperfect, then we're disappointed, right? But if we can get out of the "that's all we got" mindset and have multiple opportunities and multiple examples to pull from, then we no longer put all of our eggs in one basket. And so we have to learn our history. We have to know who we are. We have to get to the point where once we know who we are, then we can be the best version of ourselves individually within the community, which then gives multiple examples and multiple perspectives from the community for all of us to see, choose from, to show the true diversity of our experience, that we're not one monolithic, single, entity, but we're a group of multiple perspectives. That helps us all to grow and become the best versions of ourselves collectively. And that then allows us to be right within. Like, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? That's the primary theme of this episode. But to get right within, we have to know ourselves. But then we also have to, by doing that, it allows multiple folks or multiple individuals within our community or within our culture to rise to prominence. And then we have multiple perspectives and multiple opportunities, so that we don't have this "that's all we got" mindset. And we have the opportunity to grow and become right within, because we can see with these prominent positions, and we have social proof with these prominent positions of all of us being the best versions of ourselves, to grow and aspire to, that we can all be right within, because we now have the confidence that internally we are all capable of being right within, because we have social proof of that throughout our culture or throughout our community or within our group of black men. So long story short, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? On a personal level, we got to develop mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, every aspect that any descriptive word that you can think of, we need to optimize, right? We need to be the best versions of ourselves. But then collectively, on a cultural level, we need to learn how to know ourselves. When I say know ourselves, talking about our collective history, our collective experiences, things that we've all done. But then the flip side of that, once we know ourselves, then we should be free individually within the community to grow or morph into the best versions of ourselves, so that then each one of us can serve as an example for those to come, so that we don't fall into this bucket of "that's all we got," meaning there's only one or two prominent figures that people can choose from and put all their eggs in. Because at the end of the day, you want to show that we are a diverse bunch, and from that point forward, you have the ability to see social proof of who you are, so that you can then have the confidence to grow into that and add value to the culture, add value to the community. And then we as a culture, we as a community, we as a group can be right within. And then ultimately we can win. You dig? So, hey, fellas, I hope you dig this, man. As always, visit blackfathersnow.com. Hey, yo, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, any place that you listen to podcasts, make sure you leave us a rating, man. Please leave us a rating. If you dig this episode, leave us a rating. Share this out with different brothers. Share this out with different folks who are interested in understanding life, success, and just this wisdom from a black male perspective. Periodically I'll drop little nuggets of wisdom, but then I have a lot of guests, a lot of black men who have had dynamic experiences, and they're sharing their journey with you in hopes that for the brothers, we're bringing the village to the brothers so that they can, understand and see life from the perspective of someone they can directly connect to and kind of pull nuggets of wisdom there that they can apply to their life. But then for those that are not, black fathers that are tuning in, this is an opportunity for you to see life, to see success, to see wisdom, to see everything from the black male perspective, and maybe it'll help you to understand, our experience a little bit more. So anyway, as always, y'all subscribe via all the podcast platforms, leave comments, visit blackfathersnow.com. This episode is brought to you by blackfamilyapparel.com. Visit Black Family Apparel to grab some dope apparel that celebrates the nuances of the black family. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holla at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holla at you. Peace.